Hello, welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness. Well, I know this one is not related to child abuse, but well, in some ways it is a different abuses type of thing. It's abuse with our money system, abuse of identity being stolen. This needs to get out there. I saw this online and we need to know and pass it around because it's putting everybody's identities in jeopardy. This is really big, a really bad problem. I am going to put here about copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. I want to say that in Proverbs 28, verse 5, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. In Isaiah 1:17, learn to do right, seek justice, defend the oppressed, take up the cause of the fatherless. Without further ado, let me present this information to y'all. This is bothersome, everyone. Right here, I think I need to let y'all go ahead and I will play this video right here where you can hear what is going on. I don't mind sharing how I go about to make sure to keep the echo away. To do that, I have to make sure to put it to the stereo mix.
Designed to let foreigners do information technology work as if they were actually in the U.S. has been unraveled by federal investigators. And this morning, we are learning there's actually a link to East Tennessee, specifically a house in Jefferson City. It claimed one of several so-called laptop farms that helped make this possible. Federal search warrants show the house on King Street was searched, as was a dorm room inside Burnett Hall at Carson Newman University. Applications for the warrants claim those two locations are occupied by Carson Newman student, one a Ukrainian graduate student here on a student visa, the other an undergrad from Columbia who has applied for asylum in the U.S. In other court documents, the FBI claims a Ukrainian man, Oleksandr Didinko, was creating hundreds of accounts on remote working platforms, complete with stolen identity information to go along with them, so that the accounts would seem to be those of IT workers based in the U.S. As for the laptop farms, investigators say they were placed where Didinko set up computers for remote use, so the accounts could have U.S. internet addresses. The FBI says Didinko would then rent those computers, accounts, and identities through a website which has now been seized by the Justice Department. Beyond the fraud and identity theft concerns, the Justice Department says some of the users involved were actually members of a North Korean group that performs contract IT work and funnels the money into weapons programs, evading international sanctions on North Korea in the process.
If you're buzzed and doing this to make yourself feel okay to drive, you're not okay to drive.
Better late than never, sis. Yeah, um, you have to go back and watch the audio and please pass this on because this is going around. Um, with this. It's crazy. It is absolutely crazy. Let me go back to my email again because I think I had seen other links of other arrests also, if I'm not mistaken. Uh, Let me go ahead and do my page again to share. Oh, hey there, Chris. Good to see you. So let me go to present the screen again. This is horrid. This is horrible. Good to see you. He's a good friend. Let me go right here where I do the full screen where y'all can see the entire screen. Okay. And then there's also Justice Department makes arrest in North Korean identity theft scheme involving thousands of IT workers. Thousands of IT workers, okay? The Justice Department announced Thursday multiple arrests in a series of complex stolen identity theft cases that officials say are part of a wide ranging scheme that generates enormous proceeds for the North Korean government, including for its weapons program. The conspiracy involves thousands of North Korean information technology workers who prosecutors say are dispatched by government to live abroad and who rely on the stolen identities of Americans to obtain remote employment at U.S. based Fortune 500 companies, jobs that give them access to sensitive corporate data and lucrative paychecks. The companies did not realize the workers were overseas. The fraud scheme is a way for heavily sanctioned North Korea, which is cut off from the U.S. financial system, to take advantage of a toxic brew of convergent factors, including a high-tech labor shortage in the U.S. and the proliferation of remote telework. Marshall Miller, the Justice Department's principal associate deputy attorney general, said in an interview. The Justice Department says the cases are part of a broader strategy to not only prosecute individuals who enable the fraud, but also to build partnerships with other countries and to warn private sector companies of the need to be vigilant and not duped about the actual identities of the people they're hiring. FBI and Justice Department officials launched an initiative in March centered on the fraud scheme and last year announced the seizure of more than a dozen website domains used by North Korean IT workers. More and more often, compliance programs at American companies and organizations are on the front lines of protecting our national security, Miller said. Corporate compliance and national security are now intertwined like never before. The Justice Department said in court documents in one case that more than 300 companies, including a high end retail chain, and a premier Silicon Valley technology company have been affected and more than 6.8 million in revenue has been generated for the workers who are based outside of the US, including in China and Russia. Those arrested included an Arizona woman, Christina Marie Chapman, who prosecutors say facilitated the scheme by helping the workers obtain and validate stolen identities, receiving and hosting laptops from the U.S. companies who thought they were sending the devices to legitimate employees, and helping the workers connect remotely to companies. According to the indictment, Chapman ran more than one laptop farm where U.S. companies sent computers and paychecks to IT workers they did not realize were overseas. At Chapman's laptop farms, she allegedly connected overseas IT workers who logged in remotely to company networks so it appeared the logins were coming from the United States. She also is alleged to have received paychecks for the overseas IT workers at her home, forging the beneficiaries' signatures to transfer the fraud and enriching herself by charging monthly fees. I call that treason, y'all. She needs to be arrested for treason as well. She's going against a government. This is funding the weapons for the North Koreans. Other defendants include a Ukrainian man, Oleksandr Didenko, whose prosecutors say created fake accounts and job search platforms that he then sold to overseas workers who went on to apply for jobs at U.S. companies. He was arrested in Poland last week, and the Justice Department said it had seized his company online domain. A Vietnamese national, Mi Quang Vong, was arrested in Maryland on charges of fraudulently obtaining a job at a company that was actually performed by remote workers who posed as him and were based overseas. It was not immediately clear if he had any of the three, if any of the three had lawyers. The CH said that actually performed by who posed as him. And what if he gave them the information of whether he was a victim of it? It was not immediately clear as they had lawyers. Separately, the State Department said it was offering a reward for information about certain North Korean IT workers who officials say were assisted by Chapman. And the FBI, which conducted the investigation, issued a public service announcement, that warned companies about the scheme, encouraging them to implement identity verification standards through the hiring process and to educate human resources staff and hiring managers about the threat. The Associated Press writer Frank Bajak in Boston contributed to the report. This is scary, everyone. Treason, yes, for sure. So please get this out there because it's affecting worldwide, nationwide, here in the United States. They're doing this to get our personal information and so that they can get jobs. As I said, I'm debriefing it a little bit in my own terms, where they can get people's identities and get jobs, but they're using it to fund the North Korean weaponry. The North Koreans, the main people there, are sending the men to do these jobs here to try to rob us of our identities so that they can basically have more information about us as Americans. So y'all be vigilant. We need some more security information, and if a lot of Fortune 500 companies that they're working for, a lot of websites that they're putting on for job sites. So be careful what job sites that you put your personal information in if you are job hunting. Beware of these people that's trying to steal your identity just for their sole purpose of helping North Korea gain more weaponry. Thank you so much, and God bless.